Let's say good morning to our guests. He is the president of the Jefferson County Commission, Pasha Majdi.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Great to have you. And she is on the county commission for the first time, Cara Keys. Good morning, Cara.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you both. If you're not going to use the headphones, Cara, do me a favor, take them off the mic and put them on the table so they don't feed back on the microphone.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah,
Much
thank
appreciated. All right. So when last we left you, there was impact fees that were about to increase in Jefferson County. I understand that number's been shaved a little bit, because the last time we spoke, it was somewhere around 11,000, correct?
Yes, and I'll give you a little background. We have 5 areas in which we reserve our impact fees for. We have the county admin, EMS, law enforcement, parks and rec, and schools. With the purchase of the 2 new buildings, the square footage we had to finalize with the consultant that we were doing the study with, the impact fee study with. And essentially, Tisler Buys, who's also doing the study with Berkeley County, we were doing a little bit of back and forth, and we had planned and approved our June 1st impact fee adoption, but we had some changes to make, so we modified that at our last meeting, which was on June 5th. So last Thursday we modified, and our final number is $9,522. So just under $10,000.
No change.
No change at
Okay.
this point, but
All
you
right.
never know.
5,922.
No, you got it
Yes.
backwards. 9,500.
9,522. Thank
For
you.
a single family dwelling. We also have, there's the multifamily impact fee as well, which is a little different. And then we also have the commercial impact fees, which is a little bit different. A lot of the commercial types or classifications are per square foot, but then you have, you have hotel, which is per room, and then nursing home, which is per bed. So those are other quadrants that are, looked at a little bit differently. But those commercial impact fees only take out for county admin, EMS, and law enforcement. They do not take out for parks and rec and schools, because the tax load is really for our safety instead of, living there. So
none of the impact fees will go to parks and rec or schools? Is that what you're saying?
the commercial impact
Commercial.
fees. Yeah.
The residential,
so
yes.
Yeah, residential, we have those 5 categories I listed, but when you go into the commercial sector, you don't typically take out for schools or parks and rec.
So can I zoom out a little bit? All right, what's the impact fee? Why do we do it? We have an impact fee so when people and businesses move into the county, the new growth in the county helps pay for the new services that the growth demands. The phrase we use is have growth, pay for growth. I understand Berkeley's looking at that now too. It's a really smart policy, because if you're one of the handful of counties in West Virginia where everybody's trying to move, the need for services accelerates quickly. And a really smart way to have that paid for is have the new development that comes in pay its own way. So that's what impact fees are for. Our impact fees used to be really low, and the new commission has voted to increase them significantly. Now, we've had to sharpen our pencils and make a few edits here and there. You mentioned it's slightly lower than it was before. That was for a draft version that we were about to pass and enact. It's actually much higher than what it was last year.
Last year was like a couple $1,000s.
Right, so we've gone from about 2 to about 10. Yeah. It's a significant increase. And the reason we're doing that is we want to make growth pay for growth. We think that's a smart way to do it.
It's fair.
It's fair. It lessens the burden on our residents, and that's the whole idea.
If I buy a newly constructed home next year, I pay through the builder the impact fee. I assume the builder passes that along to me, and I pay the impact fee. If a year later I then go and sell that house, the person who moves into here from, let's say, Indiana, doesn't repay that impact fee. It's already a part of the house. It only gets charged once, correct?
That's right. Right.
It's not assessed every single time. And you can get around moving into the community and paying an impact fee by buying an existing home, correct?
Correct.
Right.
This is only on a newly constructed home.
Right.
Now, that's the newly constructed single-family home rate. A townhouse or a condo at a different rate, Cara?
Correct. So we have different levels. So, for example, multifamily, that is per unit for multifamily is $3,139. That's market standard. You would have that's single family, no matter the square footage, is charged the same rate. But when you get into multifamily or higher density, that is per unit, and so you're still capturing a large chunk if it's a 10-unit apartment building.
You're squeezing
versus-
more on an acre, though.
Right, exactly. So, but you are capturing, I think, the appropriate tax structure for growth. Yeah.
Let me ask the question, okay? Because Berkeley County, we have unbelievable growth here, no impact fees, and we're struggling. I mean, our water system is struggling. We're struggling to pay for stuff, and in a county this large, we shouldn't be. And maybe some of the houses, the thousands of houses. How much money do you anticipate this impact fee will bring in a year?
So it depends on
Short term. I mean, I know we have the extreme growth right now.
Yeah, so I think we are. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
You want to use the admin as an example
Yeah.
for the buildings?
Yeah, so
it's got to be in different buckets by law.
Right, of course.
Right. And so one of the key factors is what are the buckets by design? One of the categories is law enforcement. We've got that. The one that we just added was an administrative fee, and that basically pays for health department of the county, county administrative department, county court systems, etc. And what are we bringing in with the admin fee for the county there?
So our conservative approach is we are going to, and just to back up a little bit, if we our current, I talked with our employees and what they're projecting with permits so far this year, they're projecting between 1,200 and 1,400 building permits this year. So if you took that and you assumed that they're all single family, it would be well over 10 million a year. And so to lose that money. Now, to be fair to Berkeley County, there were laws in place where if you did not have a zoning ordinance, you could not capture that.
Right.
So thankfully they have modified that law, and I'm excited that Berkeley County is stepping up and moving. Steadfast in this direction.
I wasn't criticizing our current commissioner, previous commissions,
Right.
because they had no choice.
Right.
Because the voters of Berkeley County would not pass zoning, and without zoning, they couldn't have impact fees.
Right.
I'm just saying the voters were short-sighted, because when I moved here, I've been here 29 years. And there were 55,000 people in the county, and we're heading toward 150,000 now. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine all of the impact fees that could have been collected through the years that would have made our infrastructure better?
Right.
Because we're
That's
hurting
what it's
just like every other place with extreme growth. And Berkeley and Jefferson counties are two of the highest growth counties in America.
Yeah.
Not just West Virginia, but the growth that we're seeing is phenomenal.
Right.
And I mean, I think you guys are ahead of the game. I mean, moving that impact fee up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Part of the appeal is that West Virginia has low property taxes, and we want to keep it that way. And the best way to do that is to have programs like impact fees that put a burden on the developers who are profiting off the development here, which is a good thing. That's fine. But I'm not an anti-capitalist. Capitalism is great.
Capitalism's amazing.
We love it.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But we just think you got to pay your fair share as you
And
go
plan
along.
accordingly.
Well, and most of the people who are coming and buying the new homes in Jefferson and Berkeley County are coming from Fairfax, Loudoun,
Right.
Montgomery. I mean, they're coming from areas. I mean, if you pick up a house in Jefferson County, a single family, couple thousand square foot house, that's 400,000 in Jefferson County, and it's 758, 900,000 in Loudoun. So I mean, you're
over there.
yeah, you're paying the extra 10,000 because there will be an impact to our community.
Right.
Last time you folks were here, you mentioned what the impact fees were in some of the surrounding counties, and they are significantly higher across the borders than they are in Jefferson, even what Martinsburg has proposed,
They
or
are.
Berkeley County, I
I think
should say.
Loudoun's what, 65K?
And they I think just voted to raise it to 85,000.
In
I
Loudoun.
mean, it's significant. That's just to draw a permit to build a house.
Yeah.
Frederick County, Maryland, I think last time I checked was 18,000, and Washington County does it a little bit differently. But the market expectations, and I think you've said this too, Rob, is living in Frederick County, Maryland, they thought 15, 20 years ago that it would stop growth. And did it stop growth in Frederick County?
No. Frederick has almost Rockville traffic now.
Yeah. Matt Miller.
So my question is, why were impact fees so low when Jefferson County first began to implement them, and why is now the time to make the change and get those up to where you're moving them to now?
Yeah.
Do you know why they were so low?
I think it's a policy choice. I'm a Republican. I'm proud to be a Republican. I love being a low tax Republican. There are some Republicans who say, well, an impact fee is a tax. And I don't agree with that. I think you have high impact fees so you can keep your taxes low. To me, it's the exact opposite. You want to have high impact fees so you have growth pay for growth, so people who live here can keep their property taxes low. We don't have to tax people to pay for parks and services, health, police, etc. So it's a policy thing. Also, one of the major components was schools. An impact fee for schools, they dropped that all the way down to $1. Now, the folks who thought that was a good policy decision were saying, well, we don't have an increase in student age population during that time period. Therefore, this is a smart policy. The people who disagree with it would say, well, what about later? Why don't we plan ahead for later? And these things get litigated sometimes, so there's a legal aspect to it, too.
Your $9,500 fee, how does that going to break down between the different buckets? Who gets what out of that fee, Cara?
So for the single-family dwelling, schools get the largest proportion. They get $6,772, and that is, the study determined that we are in need of a third high school. So even though we haven't seen huge leaps in our population yet, we are at capacity at both Jefferson High and Washington High School. So that's going to be, I believe, stewarded appropriately for a third high school at some point. Parks and Rec is 1,179. Law enforcement is 394. EMS is 509, and county admin is 668.
Yeah, I look at Washington High School the same way I look at Spring Mills, and I think that whoever chose how to build it was really, really short-sighted. They did not see the growth, and they built the schools too small. I mean, Washington should have been built 1.5 times the size of what it is.
Jonathan,
knowing what was coming in.
I'm going to disagree with you just a little bit, having done a lot of interviews on the subject. They did see the growth. It was a matter of how much money they could get for the projects. As you know, in the state, there is a limited amount of money.
There is limited amount of money.
Especially when you go back 15 years ago.
Right.
Right? And this is what they could build for what was given to them.
The state was short-sighted then.
Well, the state didn't have that much money either, though. That's the thing.
We had an analogous situation with our government properties just now. We have a whole slew of government properties in downtown Charlestown. That's on Washington Street. That's their main street.
Yep.
And then throughout the county. And we're projecting growth in Jefferson County. We're saying we're busting at the seams right now. This is going to work long term. So we thought, okay, how can you upgrade to a high efficiency, modern facility so you can lower your maintenance costs, lower your energy costs, and get everybody in the same location to have higher operational efficiency. And that's why we've got planned a purchase of 2 buildings in downtown Charlestown. That'll enable us to move all of these county buildings that are spread out all over the county into one.
Are you purchasing some of the APU buildings?
That's exactly
okay. That's what I thought, because I know they've downsized and they've gone more remote.
And
that makes sense.
Are really high quality, and we got them at a bargain price because of that. They made that decision to move out.
Right, because they're growing still. I mean, they're a great, viable, growing business. I mean, it's sort of like Berkeley County. We got really lucky with the outlets that the county was able to purchase and turn into county buildings, because we have enough space finally. I was in the what is it, where they keep all the records, the housing records, stuff like that. Clerk, thank you. I was looking for that word, man. But I was in there, and it's amazing. And before, they were all on top of each other, and you couldn't find anything. It's I mean, this kind of growth, you need space. You need space for government.
Right.
Yeah, if we were to build a new facility to house all of our needs, we did an estimate. It would have been about $89-90 million, and we had been saving up for that for a decade and a half, thinking, oh, it's just going to have to happen at some point.
Right.
We got this opportunity with American Public University System. They made a decision, we're going to move out of these brick and mortar buildings. We're going to go online, and it's right in the middle of downtown Charlestown, and we got it at a bargain price.
Have you finalized the sale?
We're real close. We're real close.
We're at the final stages of that closing, and a little bit of background on the 2 buildings. They're Class A buildings. They are LEED certified, and so the first building is going to be where we house our admin facility. So all of the health department will be another huge advantage, getting them into a hotspot area that's more accessible for EPTA services and so forth. But that's about 100,000 square feet that we got at about $58 a square foot. and it's turnkey and it's fully furnished with
$158 a square foot. Right?
158.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
yes. And then the other building is where our proposed judicial complex will go, and so that we secured at about $154 a square foot prior to proposed renovations that we'll need to adhere to the requirements for security.
So we
Total
did our
price?
research here. Oh,
Total-
go ahead.
total
Total
price?
price?
The total price for the build out or for the
The whole project turnkey to walk in and start doing business.
so the total cost is $23.552 million. That is prior to renovations.
And you need
So
another
the-
5 or 6 for renovations.
That's the big question, Rob. That's the big question. We're getting a lot of heat from Charlestown because they're saying we want to talk about what we're going to do with your old properties. And I keep telling them, we want to work with you. We want to talk to you about this. This is very important. But we don't know what our build-out costs are going to be. So we have to spend this money to upgrade the new building, turn it into a court facility. That's going to cost, we're thinking, $9 million. How we're going to raise that? Part of that has to be, well, selling off the properties that we have now. And we don't know what our costs are going to be. At our next meeting, we're going to have an expert to come in and talk about court security. What do you need? What does a modern facility need? How much does this cost? Right now we have an estimate, but we're going to get more and more information about that. Once we've done our due diligence and we know how much money we have to spend to have a modern court facility, then we can say, all right, this is where we got to get to. How are we going to get there?
So Pasha, even if you guys go $15 million for all the renovations, you're looking at $38 million versus the $89 million that you were talking about. I mean, what a great savings. I mean,
that's a great way to look at it. That's the way we looked at it. We couldn't stay in those properties forever. It just wasn't good service. They were falling apart. And when you look at the dollar per square foot marking, this is your profession. You know this a lot better.
Right.
But for a high-end commercial building, what's it, 400, 600, maybe even higher?
The cost to construct would, I believe, starting would be $400 for this level, and that's new, and that doesn't include the land purchase. And so the cost savings that we have is incredible. Additionally, we have this furnished in that price. So this is a smart, fiscally conservative planning that if we miss this opportunity, we would be in a bind. And we've been for decades kicking the can down the street, and this opportunity could not be passed up. Now, one of the pros for having these buildings and moving forward, and also with respect to Charlestown, is we have about an 18-month move out for building 1, which is where our admin will be. And so though they're pressed to have answers now, we have to have our due diligence, and we have a responsibility to our taxpayers and to understand what our properties are worth. Without the courthouse. So we have our existing courthouse that has a lot of historic character and pride from Jefferson County and beyond. But the remaining buildings, we have to understand the value perspective of those so we can balance both the needs of Charlestown and constituents, but also our taxpayers. So there's a balancing there.
because I guess, I mean, APU was probably, because they're a for-profit university, so they were probably paying a lot of property tax on those buildings every year, which some went to the county, some went to the city. But if they're leaving, either way, you were going to lose that, and it was going to be piecemeal, and it was going to be a mess. And we've seen other places in West Virginia where office buildings have just sat empty, and nobody wants that. I mean, this is a great deal for the people of Jefferson County, as well as for a business that started as almost nothing in Jefferson County, and has grown. From what I understand, they have more than 100,000 students now.
Yeah, they've really evolved, and during COVID, they saw their business model shift, and they said, well, this, I don't speak for them, but they probably said something like, well, this is the future, we're going to go in this direction, and we don't necessarily need the brick and mortar in Charlestown anymore. So that's how we got this deal, just fell in our laps.
And it's a great place. I've got one more class to finish an MBA with them that I'm doing for fun, because I think my next incarnation I may want to teach in college, which I had to have an MBA to do that, just for fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do a really good job over there.
Matt Miller.
So when you look at the buildings that you're currently in, do you believe you have a pretty good market for those that may want to come in and make the purchase of those as you make the transition? Have you been able to feel that out yet at this point?
That's what we want to talk to Charlestown about, and I want to work with them. We haven't discussed this as a commission yet because we don't want to put the cart before the horse. We got to figure out the sale first. We got to figure out what our costs are going to be, and then we can enter what I'm calling phase 2. But this is kind of a specialty of yours. Don't you think we probably need an appraisal of?
Yes, and in full disclosure, I cannot appraise buildings that I'm involved with in any capacity. So it will not be me, but it will be somebody else that will give a fair and balanced, opinion of value for those properties, and that's something I would advocate for.
Do you have to exclude people that you work with or know
yes.
closely as well?
Yes, so I won't be calling Dad to do the appraisal either.
Smart.
Yes, or any of my employees either. Yeah.
The payoffs, the kickbacks, the things nobody saw.
Yes. Sorry, Dad. So the other thing too, when we were talking about how could we renovate our existing buildings, and the cost, as Pasha kind of outlined, is it would have been cost prohibitive just to rebuild. It could have been easily twice as much. The other problem to that is if we had rebuilt, we would have had to take more of the parking that our employees use, which we are already running out of. So not only were we running out of physical footprint for parking, but also the building. And there are building laws. We can't just go up 50 stories to make it on the front half, in Charlestown. So there's a legitimate, floor area ratio that we have to adhere to.
And I'm really excited about the future of Washington Street. That's downtown Charlestown. Right now, you got 3 blocks. 2 of them are private sector. 1 of them is government. It's just all government. When you go to a government building on a Tuesday afternoon to pay a bill or to process a form, are you in a good mood when you walk out? You want to go to a restaurant and spend more money? You're like, no, I just spent a bunch of money on a fee. I don't want to hang out in Charlestown. I want to go home. That's not good for downtown Charlestown. We need the private sector there. Fun stuff. Foot traffic, people going in and out of retail. I think this is a great move for downtown Charlestown because we're getting the government out and we can expand the private sector.
I've only got a minute left. What's the future of the historic courthouse?
It's got to be historic. I have zero interest in selling that or handing it over to somebody who wants to turn it into a coffee shop or something like that.
Yeah.
We haven't figured that out yet. That's part of phase 2, but this is extremely important to West Virginia and American history. It needs to stay historic. What I'd love to see, this might take a while, but what I'd love to see is have the National Park Service take it over and turn it into a tourism destination for Washington Street, Charlestown, West Virginia, and American history. This is the site of John Brown's trial, the Mingo County trial that had to come all the way up here because they couldn't have it down there. This was for minors' rights. Yeah. 2 treason trials happened there. The only courthouse in the United States that has had 2 treason trials.
Be a great museum.
That's
It
what.
would be
That's
fantastic.
really
Great
high
museum.
up on
I
the
didn't even
list.
think of that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so we want to work with the Charlestown. We want to respect that building, and we unapologetically all agreed at our last county commission meeting that we would we do not want to sell that building. So
Cara Keys, Pasha Majdi, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
thank you.
Great information there. Appreciate you taking the time out to visit with us there.